I want to welcome everybody here to the My Practice, My Business Roundtable discussion. I'm the co-host of the Roundtable. I'm here with my sweetheart Tracy, who's also the host of the Roundtable. Say hi. Any thoughts as we get going on this one?
I'm just super excited to be able to meet with our friends and have a really fun conversation tonight.
So we are surrounded with, these are actual clients of My Practice, My Business, but more importantly, these are leaders in their community in dentistry, in what they do and staying on the cutting edge of life and in the dental field. And I want to start with you, Ben. I want you to introduce yourself and you'll just introduce yourself, where you practice, how long you've been in dentistry, and go from there.
I'm Benjamin Hell. I practice in Far West Utah, and I've been in dental for 18 years.
Nice. John.
I'm Dr. John Lohner. I've been practicing for around 35 years, and I practice in Cedar Hills, Utah.
I love it.
I'm excited to be here today.
Thanks. Kim.
I'm Kim Engar, and I've been in dentistry for like 36 years.
36 years?
But I've been a dentist for 9. So.
Awesome, for 9 years. What did you do before, Kim?
So I was a hygienist before that and an assistant before that.
See?
So I've done it all.
Yep, I love the broad spectrum here with what she's done. Take it away, Brad.
Brad Johnson, been practicing Magna, Utah, and been practicing for 20 years. And I was an assistant before that. So.
Nice. Richard?
I'm Richard Atwood. I practice down in Spanish Fork, and I've been practicing for about 17 years now. So.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want all of you to know that how many years you've been practicing? 18. You're the youngest one? Ben's the youngest one, but look at all the years of experience that sit around this table, and that hit me like a ton of bricks just now. That it's fun to talk with all of you. Our topic today is the Dental Association's sentiment, both with the ADA and state associations, and why I'm not a member, and what the associations are or are not doing for their members. And I want to first start off by saying that, Tracy and I train practices not just in the state of Utah, but we train practices nationwide. And we have actually been trying to keep a little tally on who's a member and who's not. And I've been actually surprised at how many people have come through and they are not ADA members. And obviously if you're not an ADA member, you're not a state association member either. And I started asking them, why are you not members? And it's like their sentiment is, what are the associations doing for me? What are they doing to be profitable, help me be profitable in my practice? What are they doing to, bring patients to my practice? What are they doing to protect our field that we're in dentistry? And what are, and why is there such a conflict of interest with insurance companies and with other things that the ADA does? And I wanted to open up that discussion with all of you because, as Tracy and I know, it seems like they certainly do dance around PPO issues. And I know they're attempting to do better, but we had a really good meeting with the ADA executive, Dr. Red Colmia, and we met also with our state association executive, Val Radmal. And when we met with them back in June, I was more optimistic than I've ever been before with this executive. And having been in the inner circles of the ADA, more specifically ADABI, ADA Business Enterprise Inc., when we met with Ray knew my history with ADABI, and one comment that he made was, you know what, Rob, they did not, when you were there, they didn't make the right decisions. And he goes, you did. We didn't. Had I been the executive, I would have made a different decision. And he was, the honor and integrity of that man actually came out. Is that fair to say?
It is fair.
And it actually gave me hope with what they're trying to accomplish in the ADA, but also some of the things that he talked about were a little concerning, in my opinion. And I hope that he proves me wrong. But he did say, I don't understand, Rob, why you're even an ADA member after what Adabai did to you years ago. But he goes, it says a lot about you being an ADA member still. And I encourage that, but not everybody around this table is an ADA member. And I respect that. And I want you guys to know that. Rich, I want you to, that's important. So I want to talk about what the ADA is doing and what they're not. And I'm going to, Tracy and I are going to be very upfront, want to get your opinions on it. The ADA, when we met with Dr. Colmia, the main, in the top 3 concerns is always PPO reimbursements and what the ADA is doing to go after the insurance companies so to prevent them from controlling the quality of care that we're able to deliver to our patients. And then, of course, the EOBs, the language on the EOBs. It's a major issue also. Those are the top 3 that I saw for years and years. The ADA surveys have changed a little bit, so now they're in the top 5, top 6. The AGD still has those in the top 3, last time I checked. So I want to ask all of you, if it's a concern to you, where the ADA, what they do or what they don't do, and just how you feel about being an ADA member. And I'm just going to open up for discussion. Who wants to go first?
I'll go ahead and go, Rob.
John?
So I've been a member of the ADA
Forever?
forever.
Yeah.
And I think when I started doing that, it was just because it was the thing to do, and it felt like, for lack of a better understanding, I felt like they were the entity, the kings of the king, whatever. They were what I was looking to, coming straight out of school, to be my strength, my power. And then I've learned some other things otherwise that kind of opened my eyes up and have caused me concern as to whether or not I do want to be a member. But and those 3 things that you actually stated, probably over my 35 years of practice, have been the things that have been my biggest challenge in day-to-day practice. My biggest challenges, really. And those are the things that drive me crazy at times. So those are real issues that need to be addressed. I still have a hope somehow in the back of my mind, and that's why I still am a member, is that we can gather together as a voice of doctors and have them represent us. And so perhaps that's why I still am where I'm at. I haven't taken time or effort to change anything. That's why I'm grateful to what I've been learning from you and Tracy, and the path that you've been going down. But that's kind of where I am. It's kind of like I'm there out of a hope, but I don't do anything to change it. And in my weakness.
How many times have we been to CQI meetings? Those are continuous quality improvement meetings we have here in Utah. That's what CQI stands for. And insurance gets brought up. And the first thing that the association has said for years is, well, you guys signed a contract. There's nothing we can do about it. How many times have you always heard that?
Almost every CQI meeting that I've gone to, and I've tried to go to all of them, just again out of support and maybe feeling like obligation. That might be a true word for me.
Yeah.
I leave that meeting and come home and tell my wife, I wonder why I'm a dentist. That is a tragedy.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Almost every single one of those meetings. So that's kind of, I'm in the boat of, hey, let's make some changes. I just don't know how, and that's why I'm grateful for what I've seen led here.
With that's it got to a boiling point with Tracy and I, where we finally said, no, we can do stuff. And we went and met with Dr. Christensen. We call it Christensen's Law.
That was a non-covered law that was passed in our state in 2017.
And became law in 2018. Yeah. Is that right?
Correct.
And we went and met with him, and it's like, you pass this wonderful law. We've studied the law, and there isn't hardly a dentist out there in the state of Utah that knows how to apply it. Did you guys know how to apply it before you trained with us?
No.
Do you find that weird that the association would not So when the association says you signed a contract, there's nothing we can do, yet they were instrumental in helping pass the law. So it's like, that just is such an oxymoron to me. It's like, no, there are things we can do. Hence why House Bill 359, the network leasing, downcoding, and bundling protections law, we architect and got passed. And it was interesting. We went to the UDA, asked them for their support. In the beginning, they're like, no, whatever, you guys do whatever you want to do. And then as we got moving down the road, and Val saw how serious we were about it, then he made a call and said, hey, I think maybe we need to work together. I don't think I would have gotten that kind of phone call or any support from the previous executive. And I love that guy to death. I really do. He's a good guy. But he never wanted to make waves, never wanted to do the hard lifting. It was always just being a peacemaker. And Tracy and I certainly weren't peacemakers.
We aren't. That's something that is really, I get torn with, because we don't want to ruffle feathers. We don't want to upset people or entities. And heck, we don't want targets, obviously, on our backs. We have a successful dental practice, but sometimes it just feels like nobody's doing anything, and everybody's complaining about it, but nobody's actually doing something to help not only their practice, but those around them. And so, again, it's not us being altruistic. It just was enough is enough. Yeah. Something needs to change.
And when the associations, when we're sitting in those meetings, and the associations say, does anybody have any concerns? Yeah, pick me. Third-party payers, dental insurance. That's my concern. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about that. Yet we've had that law that they could have done something about for years and years. But here's the problem, which you all know. Nobody's read a contract. Nobody knows what's in the contracts. Nobody knows their actual rights as a provider with those contracts. And that's been a concern. But I want to pull back to Attabuy for a minute. And the thing that I talked to Colmia about is the fact that you guys lease the CDT codes to third-party payers. And that's a conflict of interest. And then we talked about the CDT code book and the elimination of codes. And you've all heard the story about how they've eliminated OSHA, they eliminated
acid etch and bond.
They tried to eliminate local anesthesia and regional block. And they are literally the insurance companies are trying to eliminate buildups. And so the question is, when they're trying to do those things and they're successful at it, how does that make us feel? Is there unbiased representation by the ADA because they're taking money from the people that are causing us the most grief? And where can we find balance? Cross your mind? Thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's worse than just taking money from the dentist, because ultimately the dental is following the medical and what happened with the medical. And it eventually turns to where the insurance companies control everything. Then they dictate what is done and what isn't done. And the quality of care goes down. So, I mean, if things continue this direction with dental, then the quality of care that's provided for everybody is going to drop to a state level or a level that is much lower with no choice. And it's all just based on, there's a middleman making a profit in the middle that gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And everybody suffers on both sides. So
I'm glad you brought that up, Brad, and we'll just call it out. Delta Dental of Washington, Delta Dental of Oklahoma, and Hawaii Dental Services, which we understand is controlled by Delta Dental of Washington, they are controlling the quality and delivery of care. And we brought that to the attention of the ADA executive, and he is supposed to do a course of action against Delta Dental of Washington. And what's really interesting, though, is Delta Dental of 17 states, Delta Dental of 17 states, Utah, California,
Texas,
just 17 whole states. That Delta Dental program literally gives you the pathway of how to offer quality care to their clients, our patients, and how to charge for it. So why the discrepancy of two Delta Dental plans That's another thing that I found of interest. Honey, go for it. I know you're
yeah, well, I was thinking about what you had said, Dr. Lohner, about you know, why you are and concerns that you have about being a member, and I hear over and over that the sentiment is that the doctors don't feel represented. You know, here you are contributing to an entity that's supposed to protect you and represent you, and they're not feeling it. And I keep going back to the taxation without representation in a sense, right? You're paying money to an entity to try to protect you and to help, and yet it doesn't feel like it's quite there. And Rob, when you mentioned Adabai, for those who don't know, who are watching this, Adabai is the for-profit side of the American Dental Association. It's the ADA's Business Enterprise Incorporated, and their job is to make a profit for the ADA through several different things. It would be to maybe sell books, sell CDT code books, sell other entities, versions of coding and billing,
advertising,
entities, all that fun stuff,
journals.
Consultants.
Yeah.
So Tracy, hold on.
Yeah.
Make a profit for the ADA. Who is the ADA that gets the
That
profit?
is a very good question. So
Who? Say that again,
Not-
John.
It's
Who-
not the members of the ADA.
it's not the
association.
members.
The profit of the ADA goes to
the ADA.
the ADA.
Correct.
And that
So
needs to be
it's the
understood
leadership
because
running
there are a
ADA,
lot of
basically.
dentists out there who don't even understand that exists. And I was one of those for years until you helped me understand that.
And that's where it's frustrating, right? The ADA's Adabai is a private entity, and so they don't have to release all their information. But they've been very candid with us with some of the things that they're doing, and one of them, as you mentioned, Rob, is these CDT code books are proprietary to the American Dental Association, and because of it, they have the ability to lease these codes out to your practice management software companies and the insurance companies. And it's disheartening to hear that an insurance company and multiple insurance companies are paying per client. So the largest insurance company, Delta Dental, is paying the most money to the American Dental Association for use of those codes for billing purposes. And then I think the thing that really gets to me personally is okay, how much money are they making, which we don't quite know, compared to the membership dues? And why is it that every March, when the CDT code book's voted on, of those 10 entities that vote on it, one of them's Delta Dental? And how is it possible that an insurance company has that much power and say over what happens with the CDT code book? It just makes me feel icky.
It's a horrible look.
And that's the thing you start questioning things, and they have so much potential and so many great things that they could do.
We want the ADA to succeed. It's
But when you hear things like that,
Yeah.
you know, it's disheartening.
So I got a phone call from a physician down in Arizona who's listening to my podcast, and he just called out of the clear blue. Hey, can I talk to Dr. Thorup? And my team's like, yeah, who's this? This is Dr. So-and-so, and I'm calling from Arizona. And they're like, okay, let me see if he's available. You know how the gatekeepers are in our practices.
Oh, yeah.
So, and they told me who this guy was. He just said, tell him I'm a podcast listening fan. So I'm like, it's a fan's calling. I'm going to answer the phone. My one and only fan that's ever called. So I'm like, I get on the phone with him, and I was blown away. He stated that, he goes, Rob, the ADA is headed in the same direction that the American Medical Association is headed in. He said, keep up the fight. I listen to your podcasts. He said, this is why we have roughly 12% of the physicians in the United States are AMA members. That's it.
So
He goes,
who exactly is he?
he's a physician down in Arizona. I could tell you his name, but I don't want him
No,
to
I
get
understand.
harassed, you know. So,
He's
but
medical.
he's medical. Yeah, he's not a practicing dentist, and he has friends that are dentists, and he understands our plight. And he knows that our membership with the American Dental Association is in the mid 60 percentile. And that's pretty low, in my opinion. I mean, we should be much higher and supportive. But people don't want to support the ADA because of these very types of things that are going on. And I'm going to, I'll give some kudos to the ADA here in a minute. Tracy and I will, and we'll talk about them. But again, I'm like, the fact that this guy called and he said, keep up the fight. Hopefully the the ADA won't go the same direction that the AMA has gone. But Richard, why don't you want to be an ADA member? I mean, just lay it on me, because I'm going to agree with 99% of what you say.
That's exactly right. Like I haven't been a member for several years now, and
So you were before.
I was before. So coming out of school, I
Yep.
was doing the ADA and UDA stuff for a few years, and then I just kind of started just feeling like, what are they doing for me? What is my membership getting me? And I wasn't feeling like it was doing much for me. So I'm like, well, why am I paying them dues for something they're not really doing for me? And so I stopped paying.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. No, you're not alone. I mean, obviously, over a third of the nation feels the same way. In talking to Dr. Colmia, he stated how they're going to use a company called Salesforce to drill down into our hobbies, our likes, our talents, and be able to use Salesforce to better communicate with us. I guess just like maybe Siri does, or our iPhones, or when we Google something, all of a sudden we get all these pop-up ads. And I told Dr. Colmia, I said, that sounds great. Is Salesforce going to be able to pick up on the elephant in the closet, third-party payers? And what is the ADA going to do about it? Because you guys can't tell us that they're not going to do that there's nothing you can do. And Colmia's been different. And this is why I have a little bit of faith and hope. And the leadership, the leadership of the ADA is a little better. I'm not going to give them too many kudos, but it's always the executive that runs it. And you guys have heard me tout that our executive here in Utah, Val, northbound train, he gets it. He's a fighter, and he's not afraid to ruffle feathers in getting the things that you and I need. But running with Salesforce, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of faith in that. In catering to our likes and our dislikes, what it comes down to is the majority of dentists in the United States take insurance plans. And those insurance plans have not kept up with the cost of living index. But even more important, there are ways to be profitable, which all of you know, there are ways to be profitable with the contracts and with the state laws. And I told Colmia, I said, look, Doc, there's so many more things that the ADA could be doing to help out all the practitioners in the United States, especially those that take PPO plans, and to be paid fairly for the services that they provide. And he was in agreement. And we taught him what we train on, what we teach on, and he goes, you guys are absolutely right. You're light years ahead of what's being taught out there. And I thought, that was cool. And he's like, why aren't offices upgrading certain procedures? And he said, I did. He just never did it, the way the insurance companies dictate it should be done. But obviously it was never audited. But there is one thing that the ADA is doing, and I want Tracy to talk about that, and that's
briefly.
the DOCS Act.
Yeah, so the ADA has been trying to pass the DOCS Act for a good 6-7 years now, and unfortunately it hasn't been going through. Ultimately, the bottom line with this act is just to hold the ERISA self-funded plans accountable under state laws. And so it wasn't looking very good, but recently there's been some higher courts that have ruled in favor of pharmacy companies with ERISA plans. And so the bottom line with this is
ERISA being federal plans or
ERISA
self-funded plans.
Yeah, so ERISA is self-funded
The things that state laws, federal plans trump state law. And so they're the ones that are our nemesis.
Yeah, so
for being paid fairly for what we do.
The self-funded plans really are exempt from state laws currently. And so we can pass as many laws as we want in our state of Utah, but if they're ERISA plans or self-funded plans, they're exempt from everything we do. And so we were starting to watch these insurance companies kind of migrate to self-funded in order to overcome and get around these laws. But what's really neat is Oklahoma has now set precedents of holding these ERISA plans accountable under state law. And now that there's precedents, the ADA has stepped
Into the
up.
Supreme Court. Supreme Court should hopefully rule on it by when?
Well, and that's the thing is I think they're waiting on a date currently as of the taping of this.
That's
But
right.
the ADA is going after the Supreme Court saying, listen, here's the precedents. The ERISA plans are being held accountable under Oklahoma state law. Let's take this national now that there's precedents. And so it's things like that I see that I have a lot of hope when they start acting towards this, because I'd rather have them take their money and focus on lobbying and legislation to protect us than put money towards Salesforce or a company that's going to help them with marketing and advertising. Again, I want to see the money in action, and seeing that happen right now, that's good news.
I believe that they're bringing in more money through Attabuy, and I can't prove it because we can't get their financials, but I believe they're bringing in more money through Attabuy than they are in association dues. And hence the reason why you're not seeing association due increase again. Now, it's a double-edged sword. You know, kudos to Dr. Colmia and company, because they've got the Forsyth Institute doing some great things and running some patents and making some money, and they've got, you know, Attabuy making money. So, and he has shrunk down the ADA. They literally sold that building. He made a killer deal on it, and he's actually shrinking the you know, the ADA's, you know, governance, which again is a good thing. And Rich, I come back to you and I come to all of you. If the ADA piggybacks off this law, lobbies the Supreme Court, gets ERISA federal and self-funded plans to fall in line with state law, which would mean an increase on federal and self-funded plans. I mean, it'd probably increase net revenue in your practice maybe by $2,000 to $5,000 a month. Would that be enough to move the needle for you to consider rejoining the ADA?
Yeah, definitely. If I, feel like, something's actually in motion, it definitely would
They're
give me
actually
a little
doing
bit,
something to
little more
benefit
motivation to jump on.
Yeah.
Well, something else that we're trying to get them to do right now is the insurance companies in their contract, it mentions LEPAT services, which is the least expensive professionally
Gosh,
acceptable
I'm so
treatment.
glad you brought this up,
Yeah.
because it's not on my notes. Bring,
And if we know that the insurance companies are reimbursing for the LEPAT services,
least expensive professionally accepted treatment, which all of you know what LEPAT stands for. Do you
Then
remember what MEPAT stands for?
MEPAT is going to be the more expensive professionally acceptable treatment, according to what we've determined. And Rob and I have kind of used that over and over
We've
again.
coined that phrase here
so-
at Practice My Business.
We wanted to make sure that the ADA has a statement on MEPAT. And so the goal is for the ADA to officially say, if the insurance companies are calling these LEPATs, then we have to acknowledge that there are MEPATs available. And the second thing that I've noticed that
That
we
the patient pays out of pocket for.
And should have a choice
And having
to pay
the
out of pocket
choice.
for.
Yep.
because
That's the big
it
thing,
makes no
choice.
business sense for us as practice owners to give the patient MEPAT services when we know we're being reimbursed at the lower LEPATs.
Right.
It's bad business, but at the same time, the patient should always have the opportunity to choose. And so hopefully the ADA will be coming out with something on this very, very soon. We've given them the verbiage. All they have to do
Okay.
is print it.
Another thing, remember what the ADA's statement is on bundling of procedures? Go ahead.
Bundling of procedures, according to the ADA, and you'll see it in their Centers for Success article, is, and I'm again loosely
Yeah. Just go for it.
stating it. Yeah, thank you. But it is when you take separate CDT codes and combine them. So it's the combining of distinct CDT codes by third-party payers in order to
Purpose
reduce the benefit to the payer or to the patient.
to us.
And so if they've already defined that, then they should be defining unbundling,
This is where I was leading.
which would be the distinct separation of CDT codes, right, by the provider. Now, what's interesting is the ADA says that bundling is potentially fraudulent. So what would unbundling be?
So, cut to the chase, Tracy wrote the definition of unbundling and how it's a good thing. And
Unbundling is always a good thing.
Yeah, because we should be transparent with all things, and we should be able to use all the CDT codes that are available to us and created codes for technology, medications, materials, et cetera, et cetera. And that's actually in one of the statements by the ADA.
And that's what I was going to say is this is where I think the ADA has been great. Because the ADA said that a decision to bill for enhancements, and they even give examples of materials, cost of gold, etc., is a business decision that is not supported by the CDT code.
Meaning,
It's these statements.
there's no code for technology, medications, advanced materials, advanced procedures. There's no CDT code for it.
So an
the
insurance
CDT
company-
book doesn't support it.
An insurance company can't tell us that's included because the ADA is saying no, it's not a part of the CDT code. There's no code for it. And so it's these statements that the ADA makes, I think, that really is helpful and protects us when it comes to offering these better MPAT services. And so the last thing that just needs to be acknowledged, because I think that the ADA has some great potential, is the insurance companies, because there is no clear definition of unbundling, they've taken it upon themselves to try to define it for themselves.
The third-party payers
And
are trying to define that.
they're trying to point fingers and say unbundling, like it's a horrible thing, when in reality, this is the best thing you can do by being transparent. And so our goal is to help the ADA take a stance when it comes to unbundling. And we know that they're in the process of doing some pretty cool things in the future as well when it comes to CDT codes. But those things are what they can do to help support us and protect us against these insurance companies, which again is one of the top concerns. And so when they say we can't do anything, yeah, there are things that they can do. They just have to do it. And we need to keep pushing them and say, listen, if you want me to be a member, these are the things that we need you to do. And holding them accountable, I think, is a huge deal.
So that's the ADA. But what about our local association? What about the Utah Dental Association? All of you watching, what about the Washington State Dental Association, Montana, Idaho, Oklahoma, New Jersey? I mean,
It doesn't matter.
Massachusetts, New York. I mean, these are places where we have clients all over the nation. What are the associations doing? I'm so proud to say that Tennessee, the Tennessee State Dental Association, adopted network leasing, downcoding, and bundling protections law that we passed here, word for word. And they got it passed in their state. We understand there's 2 more states that are getting ready to pass that. Why didn't that trickle down faster? Why didn't that get propagated sooner? And so with our own state association, me personally, I'm tired of the good old boy network. I'm tired of the ability that our state association has with the most powerful dental law being passed, House Bill 359, let alone the non-covered services law. Where is the association leadership in promoting its use and how to use it?
Who gets to talk that one?
You guys,
That's a great
Ben.
question. I was on a thread, little group me thread, and that was one of the questions. Hey, where can I find info on House Bill 359? I can't find it anyway. It's not basically it's not readily available. Where can I find this? I want to read it so that I know how to apply it in my practice and make sure everything's, above board. And so I, refer
refer them to us.
to you guys, right? And I think several of them have come, but it's just it's what you don't know, right? And so I think most practitioners are so focused on, at the end of the day, paying their bills and having enough money to buy a chalupa at the end of the day, right? That they're not really looking for those things, right? How to enhance their practice. Seems like
Well, and it's overwhelming, I think.
Yeah, it's yeah.
You don't even know where to turn to, where to look, and you're right. I mean, if
Why does the state association, why are they so afraid to put on the website, you got questions about House Bill 359, contact Tracy Thorup? Are they afraid that we're going to pick up more clients and be even more successful than we have been? Are they afraid that of implied endorsement? Because I kind of got on them a little bit, and I'm getting on them a little bit more about the UDA convention this year. there's only one individual talking about practice management, and that individual, she's very kind individual, and she's the only individual talking both days. And I hit up the chair of the UDA convention, and I said, hey, how come you don't have Tracy talking, because we've had over 100 phone calls. Hey, are you talking at the UDA convention on this stuff? Because we need to have our brains refreshed. We need to make sure we're on point. We don't care if they're clients or not. All of you know that we're not a respecter to, if they're a non-client and they call, there's 4 of us who will take that call here and help them out and answer that phone call. And whether they're a client or not, because that's our thought leadership. We just want to help, we want to serve. And so I'm going, why aren't you having her? Crickets. No return phone call, no return email, nothing. And I'm like, I know that when she talked 3 years ago, yeah, we had a plethora of office managers came. What do you guys teach? What do you train on? Yeah, we did. We got a bunch of clients from her talking. Who doesn't? I mean, you know, a lot of people are sponsored by, you know, one of them's a couple of speakers being sponsored by the AI company out there, which is going to give them some sales and be wonderful. I don't even care if we get sales, and I know you guys know that about us. We don't care.
Don't you think the attendance? Don't you think the attendance of a class like that though would be through the roof? Hey, this is how
it was 3 years
you
ago,
get
Ben.
through. This is how you get by insurance. This is how you're more profitable, and you can do what you want in your practice without.
And we're not even teaching our secret sauce.
Exactly.
We're just teaching
about the laws.
The laws.
What you can do.
And all it is it's you know, we were talking the other day about what really, and again, I want to hear more from you guys, but we were talking about what is our goal here, and it's to create advocacy, because I don't feel that we have that, and I see potential.
No, when we go to the CQI meetings, every time it's, you should drop your worst insurance, or you should drop your worst 3 insurances, or you should, how about
You
learn
signed
to
a
be,
contract.
yeah, and can we do anything? And Val always says to us, and I don't mean to interrupt, Ton, but Val always says, you know, I get asked these questions, and there's really not a lot we can do. And I looked at Val and I said, yeah, there is a lot you can do.
So they can they can start by just letting us know. I mean, I went to your meeting 3 years ago, and I sat there with my office manager and I said, I know Rob for a long time. This looks like it's really pushing the envelope. No, this is the truth, Rob.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't hear from me right away, right?
Yeah.
Because we know each other. And that's what the UDA can do, is support this bill and let the people know this is what it means.
Yeah.
And here's how you can learn how to help your practice so that you can be profitable.
We have leaders
And you can
that are
take-
fee-for-service leaders that have never taken PPO plans. How can they possibly lead in this arena?
Well, maybe that's the problem. I don't
think
know.
so,
But
yeah.
but you know, it's not just about being profitable either. It's about trying to figure out how to take care of your patient the best way.
Yep.
You know, and so you go to bed at night and you have this conflict. I got to figure out how to stay in business, take care of my employees. I'm the last one to be paid.
Yep.
And I've got to still at the same time give those patients what I would want in my own mouth. And they come to your meeting.
point.
They come to your meeting
Yeah.
here at the UDA, like I did 3 years ago. They
Yeah.
hear that and they say, wait a minute, I haven't heard anything like this before.
Yeah.
It can't be real. It can't be true.
I'm gonna go to jail.
I'm going to No, I sat to my office manager and said, I can't bite off on that yet. I got to learn more, because, and so where's the backing to understand that, yes, this is real. This is a board, and it's where people are being ethical, and it's legal, and it's
Is
the
it
way it
more
should
ethical
be.
to
It's
offer
more
choice?
ethical. I have found.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm noticing that.
So the UDA can help educate the dentist
Yeah.
about what's happening.
That's exactly
And
right.
and just
Instead of
and use the
washing it
experts
under
in
the
the
board.
field, happens to be us, you know, until somebody else takes over.
Great.
But yeah,
Give me a break.
yeah, exactly.
Brian, you were going to say something.
Well,
So
I was
anyway.
gonna say I was in the same boat. I've been in dentistry 20 years. I've been in a successful practice, and always supported been a member of the the ADA and the UDA just because that's what we do. And, you know, I didn't know exactly what they were doing, but, you know, oh, it's good what they're doing. But then as things have gone on over time, it's frustrating to see when you know, I love to see and use the best materials, the best, you know, the best things that we can, technology,
anything you
everything,
can.
because
That
there's
costs money.
all that, yeah, and I want to use that in the practice, but it costs more money, and then we bill the insurance and we get back, oh no, this is included in the procedure, and then we call, and my education comes from the insurance, which is I
They
look
know
and I'm
everything.
like, yeah, I'm the dumb one of the I really, you know, then I look back and I'm like, yeah, dentists really are the worst business people because we're being educated by the insurance company that says, oh no, that's all included and you have to write that off and you can't charge any of this. So then, you know, I want to provide these services. I know the results are better and I want to do these things, but then I'm thinking, man, it takes me all this, I got to do more time. And at first I'm including all of this and doing all this for years. Well, then I'm not sleeping as well at night. I'm in the same boat. I'm like, the way everything's going, our profit margin's getting less and less and less.
You're working more and more. And
We're
more.
working more and more and more. I'm working all these hours. I really want to do the best thing, but I can't do that. And I also was in the class 3 years ago, and I look at this, you know, I look at that, I'm like, oh man, how's this gonna work? Is this really, I mean, because they're telling us this
it
way,
above
it's this
board?
battle,
Is
I'm
this
not
really
understanding it, and oh, are we just nickeling and diming because they tell us it all should be included? It's all these things. Well, I knew that Rob and Tracy had done good things. They'd helped us, I don't know, 10 years ago when you guys first started with some things. And I'm like, they're good people and I know what they're doing. I know that they helped get the, you know, all of a sudden the buildups were all included with the crowns. And it's like, you know, and you're fighting with the insurance and you're the little guy that doesn't do anything. And they were able to get it separated and no, they need to pay. And yeah, I agree. And so we thought, well, we'll jump in and just do this. I know they're doing good things, but I don't get it, but let's do it. And after going
Blind
and
faith.
learning more, yeah, it was the first, I mean, I went home, I slept better that night than I had slept in a long time.
I remember you saying
because
that.
I could see we are offering a choice to people. They can choose to do the basic, least expensive material, or they can do something nicer. It's their choice. I'll provide whichever one they want, but they have a choice and they can pay the difference, so I'm compensated for it. And that there's nothing wrong, there's nothing illegal with it. I'm not going to go to jail. But it is actually something that is better. And even though ever since then, it's been so many changes and so many, inside I feel more relaxed and it's been a lot better because it's like, it's great. And people like that. They like the transparency. They like to be able to see that. So back to, I agree with you. Like the ADA doesn't, or the UDA, they don't need to come and say, we need to shift all of this and send business to this private party, whatever.
We don't need that.
They just need to educate the dentists that, look, these things are acceptable, they are possible, we can provide better care. And that is what worries me, is because I was getting so worn down in the dental practice that it's like I can't manage all this anymore. And that's where I get a letter or a call from a DSO that says, we want to buy your practice, we'll give you all this money. And you know, when you were just beat down and so worn down and you're like, I'm just seeing this go and go and go.
It looks good.
Yeah, it's very enticing. But to me, it ethically is so wrong because it ultimately means that our kids and our kids' kids' dental care is going to just be in the toilet and just not be the quality that it can be. We've taken out all of these, the competition to have competitive, good quality services, good quality technology, materials. Like, you need to have that back and forth. and have it be provided at an acceptably affordable rate. Otherwise, you just go to the very basic and you let them control it all, and you just clock in, clock out. I don't care. I'll throw a filling in there. I'll do whatever. And, you know, you can get the crown from China and I'll cement it on for whatever it is, instead of doing something that's actually meaningful and good, and take pride in your work and know that the patient can feel good about what they're getting. And people love it. People don't mind to pay for those things when they know what they're getting and it's quality, good stuff. And I wish that we could have more support and more education for the dentist.
Education.
And
Yes.
that's what I wanted to kind of.
And the dentist can make the choice.
Yeah.
Like, but they know
They
about
need
it.
to know because
Yeah.
they don't know.
Educating all of the dentists, it makes it so that the patients are going to get educated, so that if they're like, I don't like what you're telling me, I'm going to go over to this guy, then he's going to tell them the same thing, like, no, you can have a choice. You can.
So,
I'm actually not worried about the patients getting educated. I think
I
if they get
totally
educated,
think
it's
they need to be
better. Yeah, they
No,
have
I
to be
want them to
Yes.
be
educated.
educated.
Yes.
Because then they understand what we're trying to do with the choice. I've never had a patient ever give me any trouble.
No.
dare
when
you
they
I
educate?
had a
Exactly.
patient last night.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm saying
want the
I,
patient- I think,
Yes.
well,
It's-
the
it's a
patient
win-win
can go
all the
back
way
to the
around.
Insurance company and say, you're not compensating enough for the products that I would like in my mouth. How
Yeah.
can we change that? Because they're going to listen more
When-
to a patient.
When you
putting
look
the
at the
money in.
reimbursement and you know the cost of the best materials and technology to go into that costs way more than what goes into it. If people are getting that, then either some dentist or office is just eating the difference, or they're getting less quality.
so we ultimately, as dentists or providers, have one choice or two choices: give the patient's choice or give them lower care.
Yes.
And
you're
so
stuck.
that's why everybody needs to know what's happening, because we are stuck. And I'll bet you 90% plus of the dentists out in Utah are feeling exactly like you are.
And they don't
And
know.
they don't know what to
And
do.
that's where I was. And you're just trying to run your practice day to day.
Exactly.
And do what you
The guys
can.
I
You're
talked
working more. And they say, you know, the answer isn't, oh, well, then just drop the PPO plans and drop all the things, because you start dropping those, like, then you're really dead. Yeah. But working
which is the
with
message.
them,
The message of
being
the
able to work.
association.
This
Is
is
to drop all the PPO.
Drop
I
the PPO.
love the answer that they brought.
Because you
Work
love your
with
PPO
them.
patients, don't
Be
you?
able to,
You want to keep
yeah.
them, right?
Provide the care, do those things, and be able and work with these. Like, you don't need to work with all of them, whatever. But the answer isn't just get rid of them all, because everybody would love to get rid of them all. But
And then
that-
watch your patient base just decrease.
There's
Patients are
we can't do
completely
that.
conditioned
Yeah,
that they have to go to an in-network doctor.
They
yeah,
are conditioned.
they don't know.
We dropped one, and they were all good old. That was a Medicare, United, and they all. I thought, well, that's not going to affect them, because they kept saying, "Hey, we'll pay," and I said, "You can't pay. The insurance said you can't pay what they won't cover." And so I sent out these letters, and all of them said, well, we've got to go where our insurance covers us. I said, we'll work with you. You don't have to, but that's just the human nature. What they've been
That's the
conditioned
mentality.
to, right?
Yeah.
Go to an in-network provider.
Yeah, and then the other one is the educators and emergency services. All those guys are under a very low reimbursing insurance, and I'm not gonna drop that, right? A lot of people in our area did, but they're all my friends, and they're all people
Yeah,
that
you
are
want to
underpaid.
provide
You
for
wanna
all them,
provide
the
for
teachers,
You
the
wanna provide
policemen,
for
the
policemen.
firemen, whatever.
And it's like, I'm not going to not provide you the best. And so I think, well, I'm just going to do it because I'm a good person. You're not making
Pretty
money
soon
off that.
you're not
Right?
paying
Pretty
your
soon you're like,
bills.
wait a
Yeah.
sec. So there's a fine line there, and you don't want to drop your services to those people who truly are heroes. Right?
It comes out of your salary. It comes out of your team's salaries, because you can't bonus them. Now, I don't want you to throw your cups at me, but in defense of the insurance companies, which is going to be coming out in another roundtable,
I got it right.
as you get it ready, in defense of them, they live in a very competitive field, and their premiums cannot justify the quality of care that we're capable of delivering. But they have all stated except for those 3 states. Hey, look, if your patient wants to pay for better services, here's the protocols you have to follow to be able to provide better services. And it should fall on the patient. And if the patient thinks that their $30, $40 a month is going to cover $5,000 of dental care, that's our fault. We have not educated them enough to help them understand that their premiums do not justify the needed treatment that they have, that the dental insurance is going to contribute a little bit of money towards their care, but it doesn't act as true insurance.
Well,
And so
maybe when they go and sit down and look at their open enrollment plans, they're going to start asking more questions about,
they do.
okay,
From
so
your
I'm
training.
paying this, but I mean, he got a $5,000 max. I only paid 10%.
Yep. Oh, they
Looks
love
good.
talking.
Looks good
about
on the
it.
surface, but
Got a bigger max.
$50,000 worth of work in 1 year.
Yeah.
that's brilliant. No, you got to admit it. The insurance, that's brilliant.
brilliant
on the
marketing.
insurance company. You know,
Instead of 1,500.
Yeah.
So what I'm taking from this is, number one, this conversation would be so fun to have at these association meetings. Having just these conversations with each other, saying, these are the issues that we're having and these are the things that we can do to help each other out. But one of the things that I learned with talking to our providers and team members is there are 3 things that they really want their associations to help them with. The first one I mentioned earlier was advocacy. They felt as though the associations did not advocate for them and help protect them. The second thing that they really wanted with joining these associations was a sense of community. They want to feel like they belong to something. And they're not feeling it right now.
and guys like Rich and tens of thousands out there just like you don't feel part. You don't feel like you're part of something bigger because you're not seeing. It's not that you're not seeing what they're doing. They're not doing the things they should be doing to help.
You don't
affect
feel
you.
listened.
Therefore,
you don't feel.
in this whole table, I think Rich is probably the smartest one right now financially.
Well, and the last thing,
You know,
the last thing
by
that-
not being a member. I mean, let's
and-
face it.
Well, and the last thing that you mentioned was the education part. You know, or Ben, you mentioned that people were asking, where do I go to learn more? And we've realized that when you are educated, you're empowered. You're able to stand up for yourself. You're able to say, no, I know what my rights are. I know what the state laws are. You're breaking the laws. And so until these associations can realize that this is what the needs are,
Of us.
of our teams and us, that's where Rob and I have, our goal is to fill those voids with what we're doing. And again, it's not to replace the associations, it's to help fill that void and help encourage more and more community style and advocacy until hopefully these associations learn and grow and actually implement these issues.
I don't think we need to learn how to bond a two-surface.
You'd have 11 out of 10 people who would rather go to learning how to do business and insurance and all that, as opposed to the perfect class 2 composite on a
But it's
pre-molar,
easy to go
right?
talk about all the we love the dentistry. It's easy to go talk about all that, and it's the safe place. But really,
It's a good
what
point,
we
safe
need
place.
is
What
what
we need
we
is
don't get.
Yeah.
And if you want to survive as an independent and not just work for the insurance company or work for somebody else, like that's what we really need is the stuff
What we need, but we don't
get
want to hear
educated.
it. You know?
It's very true.
Yes.
And that's what our company has done. We've become the advocacy, we have become the community, we've become the education. And we're trying to teach that to the associations who still want to stay in the good old boy network of, let's not rock the boat. Let's just keep doing the same. If you keep doing the same things, you're going to keep getting the same results.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's where membership will continue to decline. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here today and being part of this roundtable. We're going to invite you back to another roundtable of discussion. And I'm grateful that you've been here with us today. Thank you so much. And on behalf of Tracy and I here at My Practice, My Business, thank you for joining us in the roundtable discussion, and hope to see you again. Have a great day.